I started to see life differently the moment I stopped moving like everybody else and started guarding the one thing they can never touch: my inner world. You've been taught that expressing yourself is strength. But for most men, it's not expression, it's exposure. You tell people your purpose because you want to be understood. You tell people your vision because you want to be validated. You tell people your insecurities because you want to feel seen. And slowly, without even noticing, you become emotionally bankrupt because every piece of yourself you gave away was handed to people who were never qualified to hold it. Nah, never again. When I started taking this shit seriously, I realized something Schopenhauer understood a long time ago. The world inside you is not a small thing. It's not just thoughts. It is the source of your reality. Your interpretation is your existence. Your perception is your real universe. That's why your inner world cannot be public property. It has to be sovereign territory, not a stage, not a group chat, not a dumping ground for other people's emotional chaos. You stop chasing people's understanding. You stop chasing their validation. You stop bending yourself just to be likable. Your silence begins to pull people toward your center, instead of you orbiting theirs. People can feel when you know something they don't. You don't have to say it. You don't have to flex it. Your lack of reaction becomes intimidation. Your unspoken thoughts become mystery. Your controlled inner state becomes leverage, because you cannot break a man you cannot access. You cannot destabilize a man whose mind is off limits. You cannot manipulate a man whose psychology is guarded by disciplined secrecy. The men who speak the least often hold the deepest oceans beneath them. They learn the hard way that nothing attracts parasites like transparency. And that's what most people are in the grand scheme of things: parasites. When you openly display your plans, the weak feel invited to sabotage. When you reveal your insecurities, the cruel feel invited to weaponize them. When you explain your philosophy to everyone, the ignorant feel invited to ridicule it. So eventually you realize, most people don't actually want to understand you. They want to categorize you. They want to shrink you into something simple, familiar, predictable, so they can feel safe around you. Your silence makes that impossible, because nobody can shrink what they can't outline. You start speaking less, not because you're shy, but because you're internally wealthy. You've learned that every word costs energy, and you'd rather invest that energy into strategy, focus, creation, execution, than into arguing with people who secretly hope you stay small. And let me say this directly. If you're a young dad, you need this more than anybody. Your kid doesn't need a father whose mind is wide open to every opinion, every trend, every emotional storm. They need a man with an inner fortress, a man who can feel deeply but is not controlled by every feeling, a man whose vision isn't constantly leaking out in conversations with people who have no intention of helping him build it. You can't lead your child if the whole world can walk in and vandalize your mind. Now here's the second half of the truth. Silence by itself is not power. Silence without inner engineering is just emptiness. The real power is what you do with that silence. You don't just hide your thoughts, you refine them. You don't just protect your mind, you weaponize it. Your inner world becomes a private laboratory where your philosophy sharpens like a shank, where your instincts become precise, where your desires stop distracting you and start fueling you. Schopenhauer wasn't talking about isolation as escapism. He was talking about isolation as optimization, pulling your inner world away from the noise so you can build something the noise can never touch. You start building yourself into the type of man whose direction cannot be altered by other people's moods, social media trends, gossip, or guilt trips. You no longer need applause to move. You move because the vision commands motion, and this is where most men destroy themselves. They talk too early, too loud, too openly. They leak the vital nutrients of their ambition before those ideas could fully crystallize. They abort their own dreams by exposing them too soon to minds too small to carry them. I had to learn this the hard way. Now I deny the world that access. I don't share the rough drafts of my destiny anymore. I present finished chapters, rewritten in solitude, tested in reality, backed by results. When you do this, your silence becomes the environment where your imagination evolves free from contamination. No doubt injected, no jealousy inserted, no mockery poisoning the soil. Your ideas mature under controlled conditions. By the time the world sees them, it's too late to stop them. They get the results, never the blueprint. They see the victory, never the vulnerable process that built it. This is how you preserve energy. This is how you preserve aura. This is how you preserve momentum. You slowly become a myth while still alive. Not because you fake anything, but because nobody can track the route of your power. Eventually, you become unreachable in a specific way. Not because you vanish from the world physically, but because you stop living psychologically inside it. You observe it, you move through it, you still go out, still laugh, still connect. But your center of gravity is somewhere higher. Your inner world becomes a kingdom they cannot invade, a cathedral they cannot vandalize, a vault they cannot force open. And this is the final evolution. You are not quiet just to look mysterious. You are quiet because your mind has ascended to a level where speech is used strategically, not socially. You don't talk just to be seen. You talk to direct reality. You don't speak from emptiness, begging for attention. You speak from completion, from decisions, from results, from proof. So from this moment forward, build your inner world like a fortress of rare philosophy. Guard it with silence, reinforce it with self-control, fuel it with disciplined action. If you're a young dad, understand this. Your child might inherit your last name, your habits, your routines, your financial blueprint. But the most important thing they inherit is the quality of your inner world. Lead them with a mind the world cannot infiltrate. On this channel, Rich Baby Daddy, Poor Baby Daddy, that's our mission. If you felt this, stay locked in. We're just getting started.